Hi, it's Christine again. I want to talk to you about how to plan for a strategic default. I'm sure this is going to be a controversial topic for a lot of people. Um, but as I mentioned before, I really am interested in talking about how to move forward through the strategic or through the economic mess rather than getting hung up on in foreclosure hell. I'm ready for whatever any of you have to say. I'm already getting hate mail and nasty comments. So from people who are angry with me anyway for siding with homeowners. So there's been a lot of talk about strategic default lately, and I think it's a good discussion, a healthy one. A lot of people have been told there's this idea in America that you're a bad person for not paying your debts and your bills, when the reality is that large corporations do this all the time when it serves their best interest. Now, capitalism is not going to come to a screeching halt if homeowners default en masse on their home loans. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that banks set it up knowing that homeowners would default. Um, they bought insurance through AIG to pay them for the losses on the homes when homeowners could not or wouldn't pay them any longer. And the housing mess has been so broad and so deep that it's affected nearly all income classes of borrowers. I know many wealthy homeowners with portfolio loans, which means that the bank is holding the note, and many of these were not securitized. And their homes were worth millions 3 years ago, now are worth less than half of that value. And they're forced with making the same decision as, middle class borrowers, although they have different reasons for doing it. Now, strategic default in any manner for any reason is an emotional decision, because it sucks to think about how you're going to survive a big financial hit, especially if you have a family or an emotional attachment to the property. But it's very important that you're just brutally honest with yourself about your situation and your options if you're considering defaulting, or you'll waste time, energy, and money. It's great to stay up all night and read about foreclosure. Hopefully you're reading about it on foreclosureindustry.com. But a lot of you would be best served with moving on, especially if you're just buying time with no plan in mind. So if you're considering stopping payment on your home, or you already have recently, for whatever reason, I have some suggestions on how to make it a little bit easier on you. Now, here's the disclaimer: I'm not a lawyer and I can't give you legal advice, but this is really common sense advice from someone who's been through this already on how to maximize your default. Now, the first step is to decide what is your desired outcome and whether you have the financial resources to proceed accordingly. Some things you need to think about. Do you want to keep the house or get rid of it? Do you need to buy some time to save some money to move out, or can you move out immediately? Do you live in a state that allows deficiency judgments? Do you have other debt that's become unmanageable? And are you worried about your credit score? These are the big things that people always talk to me about. Now, the financial resources is obviously important, because if you can't afford to hire a lawyer, if you're really, as I've talked about before, some people are making a decision about whether to fight or to move on. And if it comes down to your last, $1,000 and that's all you have, move on with your life. Don't pay me, don't pay somebody to help you. Just get on with your life, because it's a big battle, and it's even harder if you have no financial resources. But the answers to these questions are important, because they're going to help you decide how to proceed, whether it's a short sale, loan modification, walking away, filing foreclosure, deed in lieu, fighting on your own, hiring an attorney, filing bankruptcy, all those options. Each scenario has its ups and downs and will depend on what's going on with your own personal situation. Now, the second step is, once you understand how you can realistically afford to proceed, consult with professionals who can give you good advice. If you're worried about your credit score, talk to a credit repair person, a reputable one, assuming those exist. If you're worried about a deficiency judgment, this is where you need to go talk to an attorney about the deficiency laws in your state. Talk to them about bankruptcy or legal ways to avoid or minimize exposure from a default, especially if you live in a deficiency state. And you're also going to want to talk to a tax professional about whatever you decide to do. Now, while you're exploring your options, I would encourage you to keep your mind open until you've considered all the options. I see a lot of people who automatically say, I'm not going to file bankruptcy, or I don't want to do a short sale, or I don't want to do whatever, when it really could be a good option, especially if your credit's already trashed because of late mortgage payments. Now, I'm not saying bankruptcy or short sale is the best option for anyone one way or the other, but unless you have a specific reason to avoid that, say in the case of bankruptcy, you have a security clearance, or you have a job that prohibits you from filing bankruptcy, I wouldn't automatically rule anything out until you've really got some good advice and especially if it will ultimately help your overall strategy. And third, if you bank at the same bank that holds your mortgage, get your money out of that bank. I've talked about this before, but banks are taking people's money from their personal and business accounts for delinquent mortgages, credit cards, whatever. The same thing goes if you're thinking you're going to prepare for bankruptcy. If you owe a bank money for a credit card that you haven't paid, they can and they will empty your bank account until you actually file a petition and get the automatic stay of protection. The last thing you want to do is find out that your card is declined and you're flat broke because the bank emptied your account to collect on an outstanding bill. Now, the good news in all this is it's not the end of the world to lose a home, a car, or whatever it is that you're thinking you're going to have to let go of. But the sooner there's a resolution, the sooner everyone benefits. So I'm going to talk more about this topic. So if there's something that you want to know about, send me an email, Christine@desertedgelegal.com, and check us out on the blog at foreclosureindustry.com. Thanks for watching.